back to the Ben Harris YouTube channel. So, it is CTS time. I know. We need another project like a hole in the head, right? But it's what keeps you coming back and what keeps me going, guys. I love doing this stuff. And when your job is your passion, it works out, okay? I hope you can understand. So, what we got going on and a few things. Now, I've talked about this car in 2 videos already, right? Just little tidbits of it. But I want to go through start to finish of what the plan is, what our expectations are, and all that good stuff, because I want you to know what we're going to do with this hot rod. So if you hear a couple things I've said already once, don't mind it, fast forward, do whatever you got to do, but make sure you tag along, okay? So let's start from the beginning. This lovely car is a 2008 Cadillac CTS, okay? I got it from our buddy over to the junkyard, Wolverton Auto, basically for around 800 bucks. I helped him out on a project, and we're gonna call it that. This car we got for $800. It is a very clean car. It does have a couple little hiccups, a couple little nicks, a couple of things going on underneath, but for what we have a blown up 3.6 liter. Again, in my opinion, world's worst GM engine ever manufactured, straight garbage. 3.6, okay? They make power. Some people love them, I don't. The guys that love them are the guys that fix them and make a ton of money. So good for you guys, though. This car is an automatic, okay? She's got herself a Junkyard Joe sticker right on the console for me. But she is a 6L50, which is a 6L80, 6L90's little brother. She got a very large, spacious trunk that's clean, okay? The plan. We are going to put a 4-point grate in it with a 4L60E. 4.8 is this fine, ugly, calico colored paint job here we got from our buddy Rusty. This has a Texas Speed Stage 4 truck cam in her. She's got the big double valve springs and all the goodies inside, ready to make some thumpity bump bump. Bump bump, okay? Because that's what's important when you're driving something like this. You want her to slam, all right? When you pull up to the grocery store and you're getting that gallon of milk, you want them to know you ain't playing around. So, 4L60, I ordered me a eBay performance torque converter for 28 to 32 honey, because that's what that camshaft recommends. Why is it all in a 4.8? Well, that's just because what Rusty had laying around, and we traded a Farm Fresh 5.3 we had sitting around our shelf here. So, first things first. If you're unfamiliar with a CTS-V, a CTS-V is a performance application, and the 08 to 15, or 09 to 15, if you're talking about a V specifically, had an LSA. Well, an LSA is a supercharged 6.2 liter, which this is not. So, we're going to call this the poor man's Cadillac CTS-V because we're doing it on a budget. The goal, and I'm going to be as transparent as I can with the pricing on this, because I want you guys, if you're watching because you're going to swap your V, well, make it a wannabe V, right? But you know what I'm saying. With that, I want you to see what you can do it for and what we got going on. So I did get a couple parts ordered. Things you're going to need, I know right off the bat, guys. Things right off the bat you're going to need. Motor mounts, okay? 09 to 15 V motor mounts. They're very difficult to find. Driver's side, eBay, 30 bucks all day long, okay? And when I say motor mount, I'm not talking about the rubber isolators down at the bottom. I'm talking about what bolts to these 4 bolts, okay? Passenger side, intergalactic back order. You probably won't find one. If you do, you won the lottery. This guy won the lottery. There's a place called Hawks Motorsports that parts V's out, and they sold me one for 100 bucks. I know, way more than it should be, but 100 bucks, okay? 100 bucks for that. Okay, next thing, the sway bar is different. And your boy here, already in preparedness, ordered a V sway bar. Well, a CTS-V sway bar, the difference is, let me find this damn thing, and I'll show you. The V6 bar is straight across. It has a smaller damper, where like the supercharged car's got a big-ass harmonic balance here. Let me find it. I know she's around here somewhere, folks. Okay, right here. It's in the back of the truck. Back of the hot rod, the other hot rod. And boom. Okay, this is a CTS-V sway bar. This recessed area is where your harmonic balancer falls. This is very important. If you're not gonna use a sway bar, then you don't need it. We needed it. We ordered it, we got it. Motor mounts are coming. So later on, before we wrap this video up, the goal is to have the motor and tranny transplanted. That's the goal for this video. So let's get to getting. We're gonna get her up in the air. I'm gonna get the transmission pulled out, and then I'm trying to leave the front clip on, and then we'll pull the motor separately. Just keep them independent. It just makes it easier, okay? So up in the air she goes. I did a couple things under there already, just because my drive shaft guy, I'll explain that too. Let me get in the air first. Okay, friends, a little more rambling for you, and then we'll get to some action. So I went ahead, and we're gonna keep tabs on this. And the first one, I'm gonna really get into it. So I wanted to kind of show you what I got started. We're gonna call it Project Broke V, because it seems more fitting, right? Yeah, because we're doing it on a budget, you know. So, and to the people that say if you don't have, you know, if you ain't got it, don't do it. No, piss on those people. You do what you can do and have fun, because we're only here once, folks. Just remember that. So we're working on this because it's a good time. Okay. So back to what's important. Car, $800. Now you may already have the car, right? These cars on Marketplace, just like this one, all day long, blowed up for less than $2,000. So don't BS me and say they're not. They are. Look up. You got to find obviously a V6 one to get them that cheap, but they're out there. So the engine, I put $1,500. I don't have that into mind, but if you're gonna go to a yard and buy an engine, you're probably gonna spend around $1,000 to $1,500 because you need a Gen 4. Remember that, Gen 4. Okay. The importance of that is because it's gonna be a 58 reluctor wheel for the crank, which is gonna run a CAN bus operating system, which is gonna work better for this. Now, if you're running a Holley or like an ACES or an aftermarket fuel injection system, do as you wish. Okay. But we're doing it on the budget side of things, and this is what we got. So we're running a Gen 4 engine, like we said already, and in the $1,500 category, we're gonna say that you're getting a harness with it, right? We're predicting the future. The engine you bought come with a harness. So disregard wiring harness because I have one of them already laying around, just like the engine. Sway bar. You gotta get yourself a V sway bar. Important, right? So that I already bought. eBay Performance, $80 used. Mounts, Hawks Motorsports, hooked us right up. We got those. One was new from the dealer. One was some Hawks for $110. And you know what? That's awesome. Thank you guys if you're watching this. Torque converter, eBay Performance, ordered me a $380 fine unit. You may not need that. If you're running a stock 5.3, stock 4L60, or whatever you're doing, you may not need that. So that's just what I have. Okay, next step. I did do a couple things earlier, like I mentioned. I pulled the drive shaft out, and I pulled the exhaust off. The reason that is because the exhaust was in the way of the drive shaft, and we're not using that. Because you can get eBay Performance CTS-V exhaust for $300, and of course we're gonna do that, guys, because we love cheap stainless. And then you see this guy. You're like, if you're not familiar with late model GM cars like, you know, Camaro SS's or GTOs, or this is a Guibo joint or Gubo joint, whatever the hell you call it, but basically it's a rubber puck. It's like a rag joint, and we've talked about this, but I want to show you again, if you're watching this video for the first time, that dude right there, okay? Rubber puck, little pencil drive shaft, and this drive shaft is legit 2.5 inch, right? The exhaust pipe we're putting on the car is as big as this. So, you may want to upgrade to a one piece. That's to be determined with us, though, because I got a drive shaft guy, and he seems to think that with the power we're putting down, if we cut this off and put a weld yoke on for like a 1310, 1350, 3R, if you know U-joint terms, folks, then we're going to try that because we want to keep this content affordable for you as well, okay? Another thing, you see this right here? Oh yeah, some minty fresh eBay Performance oil pans. So them are like the 302-2 Holley, right? So back under the car. So our car has a 6-speed 6L50 transmission, okay? And a 3.6 like yours would as well if it's the same type of car as I have. Okay, things you need to know. Now, I've been reading a lot on the forums, and there's a lot of good Cadillac forums out there that have a lot of good information, guys. So definitely check them out. It's super helpful. You can communicate with guys like you and, you know, whatnot. So these mounts are the same between the 3.6 and the 6.2. So with that being said, really what's different and what we had to order from Hawks Motorsports and the dealers was these, right? To go to an LS. Manifolds, you ask. You can buy eBay headers, you can buy manifolds, but expect to spend $200 to $300 on them. I have a set of F-body manifolds I'm gonna try to use. Maybe you can fit a truck manifold in there. I don't know yet. We're gonna find out together. So, you see some other stuff. So my car has the infamous frame rot. The car is in great shape. And then you see that, right? what the hell is this, Brian? Well, this is what it was. That sucks. But what else sucks is GM decides to pack your frame full of foam, and you have to proceed to get it out of there to make room for new metal. So we're gonna repair it. Right or wrong, hopefully your car don't have to deal with that. So that's not gonna be on film, that's just gonna be the aftermath. You'll see, right? Because I'm just gonna get that done. Or maybe I'll do a different video, like a How Tuesday on how to fix it, because I'm gonna get ridiculed for fixing it anyways, so why not? So, our biggest goal, drive shaft and exhaust are out of the way. I can't really show you that part, but the exhaust, legit. The catalytic converters were right here. And then you have a couple hangers back here, and the exhaust comes down in one piece. So no big deal. Drive shaft, same way. But what we're gonna do first order of business, is get this transmission evacuated, because guess what? We're taking that over to our buddy Wolverton, and we're gonna trade it for a 2-wheel drive 4L60 out of an 08 Silverado. Again, being resourceful. You may have the opportunity to sell that. Do it on Marketplace. Sell that stuff, guys. And that stuff is good. Get your money back. There's value. You know, these things here, if you're gonna put some high flow cats on there, those things are worth some money. Get some money back, right, folks? Okay, trans is coming out, and as we add, you're gonna see this thing slowly build up, and our goal, I'm really hoping to keep this car under $4,000, and that's turnkey running driving. Now, if I upgrade the wheels and that BS, I'm not gonna put it on the budget. That's different, okay? We wanna just get the car up and running and show you we can do it for under $4 grand. So let's get to it. Transmission is out. I will tell you, there is a bell housing bolt that I would hate to have to do the right way. This dude right here, okay? If you guys are pulling your motor and tranny out together, probably save you some time. I just don't want to pull the front clip off, so that's why we're doing it in 2 pieces, plus one half's going one way, one half's going the other. So I didn't give a shit about this coolant line, but that coolant line directly covers that bell housing bolt, so a pry bar and a hammer made short work of that. As for the wiring, I just unplugged everything, tranny lines are there, you kind of seen all that good stuff. So we're gonna lower this unit down and start working on getting that motor out. And again, we're gonna try to preserve the whole engine harness and keep that. So it's gonna be very important to our swap adventures. All right, it's time to pull this motor out. Things to be conscious of, friends. Make sure you're not breaking a bunch of shit, all right? Because you don't know what you're gonna need. You know, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna try to save our hoses. We're gonna leave the radiator intact. And again, I pulled the tranny out so I could extract the motor out without screwing with anything up here, because my car is not a Southern Belle. She's a Michigan, well, you know, she's got a little rust here and there. But for what we're doing, it's gonna be glorious. So airbox assembly, all that stuff I'm gonna save. I'm gonna try to leave the intake on because I don't wanna screw with any of that stuff. I don't even know. I might save a couple sensors off this engine just because they may be necessary to communicate with the computer, but realistically, we're just gonna try to extract it all as one hole, and then we'll unplug the harness on the outside. Now, if that's exactly how it works out, I don't know yet, because I've never done one of these. So let's get to ripping some stuff apart. Something I wanted to show you guys real fast. You got to pull this fuse box out so I can get to this plug here. Kind of a pain in the ass. It was tough to do, so I wanted to show you real quick after I got it apart. There's a whole bunch of these little tabs, okay, all the way around, and you obviously just got to push them open. But in the midst of that, you have these 2 10mm headed bolts. Well, them hold these connectors in. So before you can release this, you got to unscrew those bolts and then pop these snap clips, okay? Okay, so I got all the box out of the way. I wanted to show you real quick in the midst of disassembly. I know this isn't the action pack until we get the LS in here, but something that's gonna be important to you, because we're gonna blend this GM harness in with our LS, and we're gonna need to separate these two. I wanted to show you because it looks like it's all one big harness. If you go on the bottom side, there's a little tab, and you can flip that tab, and they just separate. So now we're separated from the vehicle with our engine harness. Is how you remove a 3.6 liter the wrong, right? Well, some way anyways. I did cut a few things because they're just not going to work for the V8, so it didn't matter to me. Like the heater hoses, not going to work. Tranny cooler lines, not going to work. So I just clipped them all. As for the rest of it, I did end up pulling the whole harness, not intentionally. I just was unplugging things as I saw them, and it just happened to work out where they came right out. After, you know, I started pulling the engine, but the upper plenum, I did pull that. Did I have to? No. But there really isn't a good place to bolt stuff, so it just happened to work out. But friends, look at all the room for activities. And you know what's crazy to me, guys, is I feel like this is bigger than the damn LS. I mean, look at this son of a bitch, because it's a 60 degrees, so the heads are closer together, where that is a 90 degree. So, I mean, come on now. The only thing we're dealing with, a little extra length. I'm hoping to prove a point and put truck accessories in here, but we're gonna find out by the end of this series anyways. But as for that, I think we got the whole harness out, believe it or not. We got the transmission line there and then the battery cable. I have read a lot on the forums and stuff. I know if we go to run air conditioning, that's gotta go and get moved. But you can see the sway bar, why that's right in the way. So the new sway bar does drop down to give us more clearance for the damper. So that's why that's important. But man, friends, there is a ton of room in this car. Hoping with that strut bar, being it had an LSA, that we could fit like a big truck intake like that, just to keep costs down. Plus, honestly, them, you know, flow better than most car intakes. Plus, we got one. That's the biggest thing. So, man, friends, I'm pretty excited. Now, I did leave the radiator in. That is a very, very, very small radiator. I don't know if that's going to work. We're going to try it because we have it, and if it becomes an issue, well, we'll look at getting a CTS-V radiator, or depending on our accessory drive, I may just fab something up in here. But I'm trying to do this for you, and I'm trying to document this the best I can, so if you want to get into your Cadillac CTS and LS swap it, you have some general ideas. Now, is this step-by-step? Maybe a little bit, kind of. But not when it comes to the wiring. We'll have to work on that stuff together, guys, because that's going to be a mess. Takes a lot of time and a lot of patience. So, but from what I've been told, our insulators, our rubber mounts here, our motor mounts, right? Those are the same for the LS cars. So for us, it's going to bolt right up. And then power steering, we're going to work on that. But by all means, friends, that's pretty straightforward. Now, I do see that plug. So that plug could mean two things. Now, a while back, I LS swapped to BMW, and it had pulse width modulated steering. So basically, PWM controlled the valve. So at an idle, it would steer easy, and as you're cruising, it would steer right. You know, like, it drive nice. I didn't have that hooked up, so it had really tight steering at idle, but when you're cruising, it was perfect. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if we can blend it. So we'll just see how that goes. But as for the engine bay, I'm going to probably wheel this outside. It is getting pretty cold, but I got a day or two left before we start getting really, really cold temperatures. So probably a good time to degrease the engine bay and pressure wash it because she's pretty nasty. She's been leaking some oil for probably the past 130,000 of her life anyway. So, but I wanted to show you that, and we'll chime back in when we're cleaning the engine bay. But let's get this motor and stuff the hell out of the shop. All right, I drug the race motor out of the corner. I wanted to get this thing painted up because you've seen how fugly it was. She was, and there's still a little bit of orange remnants. And I did my best, and I threw some different valve covers on, and I threw a timing cover on, and it's time to make it one color. Because, I know Rusty don't care, but I have a little bit of care because it's going in a Cadillac. Now, if this is going in that, it might not matter as much, okay? But I did get something in, guys. I got one motor mount in. The other one will be here soon. I'm waiting from Hawk Motorsports because I did order one from the dealer. So your driver's side that's readily available on your Cadillac swaps, a 15234761. So these are they're gonna bolt right in the factory location and put the engine in the factory spot. So this unit does utilize the factory bolt holes, not like the earlier Gen 1 V cars. Then had to get some ICT bill adapters if you go put an iron block in, but check that out. Takes all the hard work out of this part of it anyways. So that is kind of a nice thing about these cars having a V8 at one point, you know, but again, this is our broke V, all right? So we're gonna go ahead and get that thing fogged black, make it all one color. Oh yeah, now she's ready for the Cadillac. Nothing wrong with a little black paint. She looks like brand new. That's what we were going for. So, yes, I will scrape the necessary spots. I'm gonna polish it up. I did tape those ports. The exhaust, well, it'll be fine. I'm gonna scrape it because I want the gasket to seat properly, but the valves they'll burn it off. As for the front, I did not put a damper on yet because I don't know what I'm running yet for accessory drive. If you were thinking that, we're not there yet. When we get to that point, we'll decide. I'm hoping to run truck accessories or like LS3 style accessories, but we will see, friends, because there ain't a lot of room. And I did some research. I think I mentioned it already, but if not, the ABS module is right in the way of the air compressor you run in your LS, which would normally be down here. I was almost on the fence of trying to put LS4 accessories on, which are front wheel drive car accessories, because it puts the AC compressor on this side, which is exactly where the V6 one was. But we'll see how that goes. We're not there yet. So, and if I was there, the timing cover is different. You got to change that too. So this is the fun stuff that nobody shows you because, you know, it sucks. I'm going to give this thing a quick douching with the power washer and then our brand new used transmission as well, because that thing's a grease ball. So yeah, let me grab some degreaser and let me get the pressure washing. And just like that, we got ourselves a brand new 2008 GMC Sierra 4.8 4L60E. It sounded so good to say that. And actually, I think my torque converter will be here today. And I talked to Hawk Motorsports. I'll drop a link for them guys. Them guys are awesome, by the way. Super friendly folks. They didn't sponsor anything. I don't know them, but the guy I dealt with was awesome. So, good people if you need any Cadillac CTS-V parts or late model GM performance. So, it's time for this. You see me hit the bottom side? For friends, it's a grease ball. This thing's pretty nasty. So, I got my citrusy, smell good engine degreaser I got donated to me. And we're gonna go ahead and polish this old turd because that's gonna be ready for the new, freshly painted 4-point grate. All right, I'm just saying. So let's get this all done and then it can go back in there. There. That didn't work, I was trying. Son of a biscuit. Now friends, be conscious of your plugs. I put some rubber gloves on there. You always gotta have protection. But you know, this stuff here, a friend of mine gave me, it's called Spray On and heavy duty citrus degreaser. By all means, you could probably drink this stuff. Well, figuratively. I mean, I like to party too, I guess, but let's, we're gonna go ahead and douche this on here. It just gives me a nice clean base, you know, especially on this cross member that's, you know, I think the rack's leaked most of its 180,000 miles. Okay, enough of that boring stuff. I'll tell you what, it looks like freaking brand new in here, friends. Definitely worth it. A couple little tiny spots that I missed that it's not gonna break my heart by all means. So just one thing I like to do after the fact, obviously we covered our electrical connectors except for that one because I missed that one. Take a blowgun, and I'm not gonna bore you with that stuff, and just kind of clean it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Things that matter, give her a little blowski. You know what I'm saying? All right, she's all dried off, back in the shop, of course. So something I've been tinkering with here just off camera, but I wanted to show you guys, I hope to show you guys that you can do this without dropping the cradle, because I don't want to drop the cradle. You probably don't want to drop the cradle. Maybe you do, because guys do it. But the sway bar, the straight sway bar here, the one we got to get rid of here. So there is normally these plates, okay? These plates are what hold it down. They come from the top. See the holes there? So I did remove them in car, okay? There's the other one. There's that one. 15mm ratchet wrench. Save the day. I'm gonna go ahead and take the wheels off quick. I gotta get that sway bar changed because guess what showed up? UPS honked the horn a little while ago. Let me show you real fast. There she is, friends. That is the infamous passenger side CTS-V mount. Guys, if you're gonna do one of these swaps, I hope you're watching early enough on because these don't exist. And yes, I did find one. Hawks Motorsports. They part out high-end GM cars. I mentioned it earlier. How freaking cool was that? And he hooked me up with a premium at $110 shipped, where the new one from the dealer for the other side is $30. But when you got it, you got it. And the guy was super cool, like I said already. And they even saved the bolts. How freaking cool is that, friends? So that means I can wrap this video up for you guys with the motor and tranny installed. Won't be running. We're still a little bit behind on that because I want to see how the intake works. I want to see what we're going to do for an exhaust system because we got to check for room. Because everything I read on the interweb is the CTS-Vs were based on an all-wheel drive chassis, which had more room, but it had a rear wheel drive subframe. So another thing, the subframe is a different part number, but it's because of this guy right here, the ABS module. So where I live at in Michigan, AC is not necessarily a big deal. A couple times in the summer, but I don't know if it's gonna end up with AC or not. We're gonna hold off on that for now. We're gonna more focus on getting it running. And it's October for me, so it'll be snowing here probably in a couple weeks. So is it gonna hit the road this year? We're gonna find out together. But enough chit-chatting. Let me get the wheels off. I'm gonna make sure I can fish this out of there before I give you guys false promises because I would never lie to you guys. So up she goes, sway bar out. All right, you know the basic treatment, friends. Get rid of your nasty old hubcaps and let's get the right size socket. All right, we'll start with that. All right, friends, tires off. I did pull this inner fender piece. That's just kind of laying right there. So you can see what we got going for the sway bar. That's an AC line, don't mind that. But pretty much, hopefully we weasel it out of there. So it does come back, and then we basically have a 21 on this end here. So I'm gonna try to weasel that out of there. I'm gonna have to probably wrench that out, which freaking sucks. I might try taking these two loose, and that'll help me shift the bar over maybe, and then we can get to the other one, but all right, so mine are aftermarket, but a wrench fits on the backside. So that makes it a little easier, 19. Get that out of the way. And then, like I said, hopefully that'll allow me to get a little wiggle room here. So let me get that other side. So I may or may not have cheated on this. I kind of cut the whole sway bar, you know? Yeah, it's gonna be an adventure getting the other one in though. But we got one out. So I don't know, friends, if this camera justifies the size difference, but man, it's kind of hard to see. But easily this is 1 inch and that's probably 1.5 inches.
Dude's biggest lady I've ever seen. Ah, that's a huge bitch.
So we're at all the handling for this old girl. But we gotta fish that through there. Guys, I'm not wanting to drop the cradle. I really am not wanting to. But you can see I cut that one off and I cut that one off. And by the way, the grinder was way better than the Sawzall. So I'm gonna try to fish that one through there. Wish me luck. P.S. eBay Performance, they gave me bushings with mine. If you buy a new one or something, make sure you have the right bushings too, because they are definitely a different size. So, do you think it's gonna fit? Let's find out. All right, so I want to show you, I did weasel it kind of through. This may actually work, guys. I may just have to pop that bushing off because we're actually through. I was sweating it for a minute, but man, the lighting sucks. Let me get you a light. There it is. You can kind of start to see a little better, but man, as long as I can get the pop up and over that, we're freaking in. Kind of, because we also have to fight to get it in there, you know? So, let's get back to fussing with this. Well, I don't want to bore you to death on a sway bar. I just want to show you that it can be done in the car without dropping the cradle. So, I'll let you know when the challenge is complete. All right, I know I didn't show you, but I was able to get this through, and then also I was able to get it over the tie rod ends. Pulling these would have been easier, but the little bit of leverage with the old, where the pry bar is, there, I don't even know. There it is, the pry bar. With the pry bar, we were able to pop it over them tie rods. So I'm gonna go ahead and I gotta pull the sway bar links off these halvesies here and get this part wrapped up. We'll chime back in and we're getting that motor on the cherry picker. Friends, it's that time. Motor's ready, motor mounts bolted on. I did throw the rear main seal on without you. All right, I did do that. You've seen that in other videos, that's boring. So, it's time to put that 4-point grate in this old haggard-ass CTS. So let's get to her. So you ask yourself, Brian, you're leaving the hood on and the radiator in there. Yes. And it's gonna fit. I mean, look at the room here. There's tons of room. And that little guy, I mean, this is probably smaller than that old clapped out 6-cylinder that was in here. I did pull the power steering lines. I know it might be kind of hard to see. I was just concerned that those were gonna be interfering. And then also, obviously you see our big hog ass sway bar on there now. So we got all the room. And if you guys got any tips on the shifter, which we're gonna hopefully have that resolved, but if you have any ideas, the shifter for the 6L50 was on the passenger side where every other GM transmission shifter's on the driver's side. So I'm hoping to maybe put it on the other side and still use the factory shifter. Any tips, tricks, drop in the comments. I'd love to hear them. So let's get this motor in, because right now, those premium used motor mounts are gonna line up to this one used bracket, one new bracket. Okay, right now. Well, friends, she's in the hole. It does fit. See, it's right there. So we are on the factory V6 motor mounts. We are clearing our sway bar, and you can see where the sway bar would be interference. I thought it'd be with the damper. It's actually for the oil pan. And that does prove that our, you know, $80 eBay Performance 302-2 oil pan does fit in your CTS-V, because that oil pan is cheaper than a CTS-V pan, right? So as for this side here, let me get some lighting out of the way for you. Again, sitting right on the mounts. I didn't even unbolt the mounts, friends. Those mounts are factory. The back, there's a pile of room in the back. I would almost rather have the engine back further, to be honest with you, because that way I'd make more room for my truck accessories. That 6L transmission's very large around the bell housing area, so maybe that's why we're running a 4L60. By the way, guys, I know I showed you that earlier, but look what else showed up too, okay? Things have been I should be doing box openings, because I like watching box openings, so, you know, but we got our eBay Performance. I think it's called Trans 1. It's a 26 to 3000 stall for 380 bucks, right? Shipped. How can you go wrong? We're not making enough steam for it to matter anyways. So I'm gonna zing down the motor mount nuts real quick with you guys, and then we're gonna hopefully, we gotta put a, I'll have to probably use my front wheel drive support here to hold the back of the motor up until we get the tranny sorted out, because there's a lot of tongue weight. But friends, let me just show you something here. I don't know if truck accessories are gonna fit. I don't know. Now, granted, if you're not running AC and you don't care, there is a crap ton of room you could get rid of right here. If we can move that radiator forward to right at the, you know, flushness of the course port, just depends on what you're gonna do. Remember, this is our broke V. All right, this is a budget project. We're trying to keep it under 4 grand. We're really trying to keep it under 3 Gs, but that's gonna be tough. But we're gonna do our best, I promise. As for the rest of this, let me get them down, and then we're gonna be able to assess a little more once we get it in the air. So let's go now. Quick before we go in the air, this right here is a kind of a cradle for doing front wheel drive cars, doing transmissions and stuff. Now, you don't have to have that, friends. And You could run a 2x4 with a chain across there, a 4x4. There's many other options. Or, like I said, drop the cradle. I like to do less work. So that's, you'll figure that out real quick about me. So, all right, now we'll go up and get this transmission installed. There she is. So for all you guys wondering what oil pan I should buy, I would say the 302-2 Holley or knockoff eBay Performance Holley fits pretty darn snazzy. I mean, even where that line is right there, we got quite a bit of room. Now it is tipped down a little bit, but guys, that's easily an inch worth of gap. So as long as our power steering lines fit over top of that, it's a freaking win. And we're not far off from actually where the engine's supposed to sit. So we're gonna go ahead and get that 4L60 bolted up and kind of see. But this was the shifter situation, friends. It comes off on the passenger side. WTF, you know, why would they do that? But a 6L50, it's on this side. Every other GM I've seen, it's on the driver's side. So I'm thinking once we get into it, we'll cut this off and then reroute it over here and do the same thing. Now, I did save all the linkage, obviously, you saw. And maybe we'll try to fab it up somehow to that. But again, I don't even know if I need this neutral safety switch. So if I don't, then we maybe have to deal with that as well. I'm not sure on this car if it's integrated into like the shifter mechanism or if it was coming from the 6L50. So we'll deal with that as time comes, but let's get this transmission installed because we want to get this engine and tranny set up and mounted so we can wrap this video up for you guys. Well, I'm in a mess, friends. Remember when you're using lifting a used transmission, your dipstick hole is wide open. Yeah, so I proceeded to dump like a half a quart of tranny fluid in my shoe and down my pants. And unfortunately, I wasn't recording that for you, so you got to miss the humor. It wasn't that funny. But why I chimed you back in, brand new converter, always go ahead and fill this guy up as much as you can. Let it sit. It'll kind of bubble down in there. And then send her home. And remember, 3 clunks, friends. All right, let's see what happens. Hopefully she fits. I mean, it should, though. I would hope. There it is. 3 clunks, friends. Look at that. So, we talked about this, in a video before anyways. You can always generally tell it's a smaller converter when you can wrap your hand around it, okay? So, I know it looks like a standard OEM size, but she is definitely quite a bit smaller. So, yeah, it's time. I never understood how transmission jacks and cherry pickers can get stuck on a freaking zip tie. Just doesn't make any sense, does it, folks? All right, moment of truth. What do you think? Now, this is a lot more slender than the old 6L transmission, so hopefully she slides in. Well, first snafu, I may run into neutral safety switch clearance issues, so I'm gonna lower it down and I guess pull this out of the way. I don't know, we're right here, we're just bumping into that. I can go over a little bit, but by all means, friends, it's not gonna fit with that neutral safety, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. And if we gotta deal with it, we'll just deal with it in a different fashion. Or we just, I mean, I like to party, maybe we just don't need one. It'll be all right. You know what I'm saying, right? Well, friends, you see I pulled that heat shield out of there and, right there, but is it going to be a big deal? It's probably more for, obviously, a little bit of heat, but sound deadening as well, being it's a Cadillac. But, I mean, realistically, the exhaust is going to run right here, okay? So, for us, it's basically whatever the transmission puts out, and as for the tranny lines, them are going to suck all of it, okay? So, we're going to have to deal with that too. I may have to go AN on those, which isn't the end of the world, but we'll see. But yeah, there is no room going forward, okay? Let me get you a better angle. But I was screwing around with the tranny cross member that was on the car originally, which is an aluminum, wherever the hell I put the darn thing, right here. So I pulled the old existing mount out, which was this dude right here. Okay. Now, if you take a gander at what I got going on, now granted, guys, my car's got a little rust. Don't just disregard that. I'm gonna sort that stuff out. But if I take this dude, now remember I got a 4L60, so they be different for you. But for me, now remember we use the factory CTS-V mounts. They damn near line up in one of these holes, okay? So obviously we know that's not gonna work. We know that's wrong. But think about this. I have a buddy that can weld aluminum. Rusty can do it, or I got another gentleman that'll be more than happy to help me out here. But if I take this and we just cut this portion out, okay? And then we weld in a plate and drill a hole. Then we got a transcross that fits in there perfectly, right? Now granted, we could fabricate one out of steel and angle iron and stuff like that, but for now, what you're gonna see me do is you're gonna see me sawzall this guy out just to get it set in there. And then we can go from there, because we do have to get the drive shaft sorted out. And that'll be a later video, but I'll make sure I show you that so we can keep this budget thing rolling on this unit here. See, that's kind of all I was looking for. And then if we do decide to weld a plate on there, we'll just make sure we give us enough room for the nut. Okay, so let's bolt this up in there and see how it lines the transmission up, because we could always shim with that too, you know. Use 1/2-inch plate or 1/4-inch plate or recess it. We have options, friends. All right, so she is in-ish. We'll put it there for now. You can see the transmission is contacting right there. A little couple heat and beats and wax, you know. Tranny lines, you ask. Again, they are in a really bad spot. I don't know what to do there. This bottom one I'm thinking I could get to. It's the top one. But, I mean, if I do a tight enough 90 that is a push connect fitting, it's possible. Here's the next concern, friends. This SOB. You're like, oh man, there's plenty of room, right? Yeah, there is if I wanted to run an aftermarket shifter, and then it just bolts to the tranny here, and then the cable, and then everybody's happy. Friends, I don't want to do that. I'm really hoping I can do some research and see, maybe, see, you know it says RWD, rear wheel drive for this unit. Maybe the all-wheel drive is a cable? You know, that's something I got to research. That would be super helpful if it was. If you guys know that, drop it in the comments. You can see my tranny mount kind of works. It'll be fine. And it did place it pretty decent. Overall tunnel clearance is not bad. My BMW was worse, I can tell you that. And would you stick a 4L80 in here? Friends, I don't know. Because that connector comes out here. And I remember on the Beamer, I had to relocate it into the oil pan because they do sell a conversion kit for that connector. So, yeah. Well, let's set this on the ground. Let's see how everything else is fitting, because under here fits okay. I'm not completely upset. I'm hoping my trans dipstick fits, which it looks like it might. But, well, let's get her on the ground real fast here. There she is. She's on the ground. Now that, my friends, is how you LS swap a Cadillac CTS. Not a V, a broke V is what this is. So yeah, just remember that. The motor mounts place it in the right spot. Our 302-2 oil pan works great. You know, friends, let me find a light here. I'm digging it. It is pretty tight in the front. I will tell you that. I am still gonna try to use truck accessories. I'm still gonna try to use the most budget-friendly things I can, just to do it for you and to do it for me, of course, because I don't want to sink a whole bunch of money into this, right? That's the whole idea of these budget projects. So we're going to try to maybe come up with some manifolds that fit. You can buy CTS-V manifolds. They're just expensive. Maybe we can find a truck manifold that fits, or some other BS. They do sell CTS-V headers for like 250 bucks as well. So we may put long tube headers on it. I don't know quite yet. But I do want to go ahead and set our intake manifold on it and just kind of see if our crossbar is going to clear, because this is really, I mean, there's a crap ton of room in the back. That really blows my mind. But that transmission is, I mean, I can stick my hand up there. So we do have enough clearance there. I was kind of worried about that because I almost thought about trying to choke this motor back further, and I really think you probably could if you wanted to make your own mounts or make some sort of adapter plate to reposition the motor back further. But that's where GM intended it for it to be, so it just sucks because any sort of short accessory drive for these things are very costly. unless you do yourself a favor and score yourself like an LS1 or a G8 motor, something with short accessory drive or whatever you may get. But most people that do these types of budget-minded projects are looking for truck motors because you can buy a 5.3 out of a truck for $300, you know? And if you need $300 5.3s, get a hold of me because Wayne's got a whole bunch of them. So let's try that intake out. Let's just lay the crossbar on it. We need a little bit of completion for this project so we can wrap this video up. Let me grab that real fast, set an intake on, see if our crossbar is going to fit. And friends, I don't know. I might have a water pump I can try to place on here and see as well. But we may save you that for a different time. All right, so this, my friends, is a, we'll just throw that down for now. This is a Gen 4 truck intake or Trailblazer SS or new body style SS, whatever the hell you want to call it. But that's what this unit is. So I'm hoping this is shallower than the LSA blower, right? But we don't have a V hood because the V hoods have like a big cowl. So just kind of just eyeball it on there. And honestly, friends, what you may or may not know is you can put these intakes on backwards. And there is a pile of room back there. So you never know. You never know what we're going to do around here in the old bend and wrench shop. I'm just saying. Because that might save us. There's not a lot. I don't think the hood's even going to shut. But let's see. Do you think it's going to shut? Let me know in the comments before I shut this hood. Okay, time's up. Got a rag in the way. We got a bolt in the way. All right, let's try again. Ooh, I don't know. I could probably force it shut, and it's not bolted down, so it is sitting on my duct tape, but she's pretty tacked. So, one last thing I want to try, just for sakes. So that would fit. If the intake was bolted down, the strut bar would fit. It's just our throttle body area. Now, do we have to go with a Gen 4 intake? No. Believe it or not, I can go with a Gen 3 intake and just use a returnless style, but we are losing a little bit of air volume. Maybe I'm hitting just this rubber hose. This is off my old mud truck anyways. So I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do for an intake yet. So if you guys have any ideas, I mean, I've used LS4 intakes, the world's worst flowing intake. Them actually fit really well. I've used, I don't like them fabricated ones. And I have one for a Recport set of heads, but them fabricated ones just look atrocious. Now, if somebody gave me one, you know, if one of our local fuel injection, you know, specialty companies was like, hey, Brian, you want to try out this intake with injectors and a computer? I would definitely try it. Just dropping that hint out there for YouTube world. But as for now, this was coming out of Daddy's pocket, and we're going to try to fab this unit on there. So, friends, on that note, we brought home a car, we ripped the motor out of this unit, polished the engine bay up, we threw together with this 4.8 we got from our buddy Rusty that was just sitting there in dire need to go into something freaking cool like our Project Broke V here, you know, our 4-man CTS-V. So, on that note, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, share all that good stuff. We'll see you on the next one.